let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show.
Hey guys, on today's show, the Epstein Files have been voted to be released. Huzzah and huzzah. And the Democrats are, I think, going to very quickly, once again, pretend they don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. Just my opinion. Then we're going to talk about how the judges in this country are out of control, especially when it comes to dealing with illegal aliens and the absolute outrageous decisions that continue to be made to basically tell the American people to go F themselves. And the rulings that we now have in the state of Texas where saying, you know that redistricting you wanted to do? No, it's racist. Can't do it. So there's that. And then we're going to talk about the they, them onslaught that continueth, the scourge on the culture that are the pronoun people. So stick around for all that today on the Angela Box Show.
Hello, my name is Angela Box. Show your personality.
Okay, you guys, the Epstein Files have been voted to be released, and there was one person who didn't vote to release them. I don't even care. It doesn't matter. Everyone's on board now to release the Epstein Files. I mean, Trump really did play them like a fiddle, did he not? For years, up until Trump became president, he was talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He was saying, there's some people that may be in a bit of trouble, like Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew, that are implicated in the Epstein Files. And maybe we should get to the bottom of that. But of course, no Democrat wanted to get to the bottom of anything because they knew it implicated Democrats. We've got Democrat judges refusing to release grand jury testimony. We've got Democrats for years punting on this issue. They had this in their lap for these many years. They wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because they know deep down that it's their people that are involved in it. And when Trump decided to play them like the fiddle that he always plays them, Lucy with the football like he always does, he started saying, what is the big deal about Jeffrey Epstein? Like, oh, we need to move on from this. Like, this is a hoax. This is just crazy talk. And when he's talking about a hoax, he's talking about the information that he knows the Democrats are going to be putting out there, the cherry picking that the Democrats were going to be doing that we saw all last weekend, how they all had a meltdown all over X saying, oh, Trump's in the Epstein Files more than anybody else is. But when you look in the files, it's just basically Jeffrey Epstein railing against Trump and trying to figure out how to get Trump, okay? There is zero smoking gun. There is zero evidence that Trump ever did anything. Julian Assange of WikiLeaks was like, if there were, do you not think I would have put it out there? Of course he would have. So anyway, Trump's like, I think the best way to get this information out there is to basically say that I don't really think we should be talking about it anymore. To which the Democrats immediately had a meltdown for the last few months. And Trump's approval has taken a dive on this. Republicans' approval has taken a dive on this because what it's looked like is that they are obstructing the release of the Epstein Files. And I think Trump, as usual, is playing the long game, is 5D chessing it and basically saying, I'm going to take a few hits right now. I'm going to take some hits on my approval rating because I know I'm not in this crap. I know I didn't do anything. I know that I'm the only one that was even helping Bradley Edwards, the attorney for the plaintiffs. I know that I don't have anything to do with this, but let's pretend that this is just a nothing burger and why are we still talking about it? And let's move on. The Democrats, of course, took the bait. And so Trump, couple days ago, was like, listen, this has been a total distraction on my agenda and America first, and we're taking a hit. And so we need to get back to business. We need to get back to the work of the American people because the Democrats have used this as a cudgel to try and split MAGA, to try and drive down Trump's approval rating. So Trump's like, okay, let's just, I'll sign it, like send it to my desk. And so that is what is going to happen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if Trump knows that he's not in the files in any appreciable way, and Trump knows who is in the files, like, for example, Bill Clinton, who had Jeffrey Epstein to the Clinton White House 17 times, who Ghislaine was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding, who helped fund and establish the Clinton Global Initiative. Larry Summers, who was, I believe, Treasury Secretary under Obama or under Clinton, one of them. And Larry Summers is the president of Harvard. Reid Hoffman, who founded LinkedIn, and Prince Andrew, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, any number of very, very prominent people are in these files.
As far as the Epstein Files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people.
And I think that the realization is probably setting in at this point to be like, ooh, did we just get played again? In fact, Josh Hawley, who's always great, he let it be known that this really is a be careful what you wish for situation. And he said, basically, y'all are going to regret this full court press. Roll that clip.
So this Epstein thing, Hakeem's people asked Epstein to come to dinner and meet him after he was convicted for fooling around with a 14-year-old.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, this is why the Democrats they're going to regret, I think, ever playing around with this, and they're going to regret embracing transparency, though I'm glad they did. They thought, I think, that the files would never become public. They thought this was all a game. Well, guess what? They're going to get their wish. They are going to become public. The president's going to sign the bill. The president's been right all along on this. He said months ago, make public everything you can that's not classified. Now Congress is finally going to do it. And I think we're going to learn a lot, Jesse. A lot of people suddenly are going to get real reticent to talk about Epstein, whether it's Hakeem Jeffries, whether it's Larry Summers, that Harvard president you mentioned a second ago who worked for Barack Obama. We're going to find out a lot about a lot of folks because you know what else is in this bill that just passed tonight? It's got to be a searchable database so any American can go in and read the files for themselves. That's how it should be. I'm looking forward to seeing what's there.
Well, so are my producers.
They're nothing if not dogs with a bone. They're nothing. Here's the deal. You knew that the Democrat push of this was all a hoax because, again, they didn't talk about it for 4 years. They could have, if they had something on Donald Trump, they would have released it 8 years ago, as anybody with a brain knows. So all these cherry picking things that they're doing is just going to blow up in their faces in the end. But here's something that is infuriating, you guys. So there is this ghetto fabulous delegate from the Virgin Islands. Her name is Stacey Plaskett. Stacey Plaskett, who cannot vote, but she, sits there and rails against Trump, and she's on the Intel committee, and you're not. So Plaskett was busted just recently in 2019. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein about how to get Trump in a congressional hearing with Michael Cohen. And when she was caught, she basically said, she gets up on the House floor. I'm going to roll that clip for you so you can see her, lose her damn mind. She's like, I don't know why y'all care about me texting with Jeffrey Epstein. Y'all don't care about 34 felon Donald Trump. Roll that clip.
Your attacks on working families, your protection of powerful predators and corporate criminals. You want to talk about texting felons? How often do you text President Donald J. Trump? That's the individual we should be concerned about. And
she's the literal worst. And obviously anybody with two brain cells to rub together knows that every single Trump case was a ridiculous deep state miscarriage of justice. I'm not going to get into the cases. It's so dumb. But the point is this woman is now going around to save her hide. She was trying to save her hide last night, and there was a push to censure her and to remove her from the Intel committee. But of course, Republicans, with Lucy with the football too, they're like, nah, we're not going to do that. So there was 3 of them that voted to not censure her and remove her. And then there were 3 that voted present, which is essentially, no, keep this lady. Just like they kept Ilhan Omar. It's like, why? And me thinks the blaze is onto the reason why. Me thinks it's to save one Corey Mills. Corey Mills, who may or may not allegedly be the embodiment of the show Homeland, Sergeant Brody. that case is very, very strange. And so the Republicans are thinking, well, we don't want them to censure Corey Mills for all the crap he's doing, so we're not going to censure the Democrats. I mean, just again, playing Chinese checkers, not even playing regular checkers, playing chutes and ladders, okay, as opposed to actually playing to win. But anyway, I digress. This lady, of course, is not going to have anything happen to her because she's a Democrat and she's a black lady, and you can't ever hold black Democrats accountable for shit. And so she goes on TV the other day, and she was like trying to, she was trying to cover that ass, but she showed that ass, and she was like, listen, you guys, the reason I was texting with him is because, like, you have to get information from who you need to get information from. Let me read you this actual quote from her. I'm not going to play the clip because I already played her once, but let's see. Plaskett on texting with Jeffrey Epstein. Wolff, Blitzer. We know that Epstein had what property in the Virgin Islands, right? So what was your relationship? Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I am going to roll the clip. Best to hear it from the horse's mouth. Roll that clip.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward. If individuals are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things, I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
Yeah, so basically she is defending Jeffrey Epstein. So that's cool. And then we've got this situation where, as I mentioned, there were 3 Democrat judges that have decided that they're going to be blocking the grand jury testimony from coming out. The grand jury testimony that once and for all, with the witnesses, are saying who was there, who wasn't there. Let's start naming the names, shall we? So Richard Berman, appointed by Clinton, Paul Engelmeyer, appointed by Obama, and Robin Rosenberg, appointed by Obama, they decided to block all grand jury testimony. Why is that? And then we've got the situation over here where basically Michael Wolff, this so-called journalist, this guy that has a complete and utter fixation with Donald Trump, as all Democrats who say, he is their drug of choice. Like, let's keep it 100. He is all over the Epstein emails. Epstein's emailing him back and forth, talking about Trump, that, his fixation with him, and, we got to get him, and all the things they were trying to do. Well, Michael Wolff let the cat out of the bag that he was emailing with Jeffrey Epstein, basically, and Epstein was starting to figure out that Trump is the one who ratted him out and turned him in. Roll that clip.
At that point, Epstein's legal problems began. The police began to investigate him over allegations that he was, that there were underage women coming to his house. Epstein believed that it was Trump who first informed the police about what was going on at Epstein's house. And from that point on, they were nothing but bitter enemies.
And this is what he's telling you. This is one of the instances of what he's telling you. That the following
yes, that is the version of this related by.
Yeah. So this is lots of be careful what you wish for, ladies and gentlemen. So, and on that note, Paul Sperry writes, House Oversight's release of Michael Wolff's unpublished Epstein profile reveals the convicted underage sex trafficker told him he spent 100 hours with Bill Clinton, including ferrying him around on his jet, and that Epstein's address book contained many Clinton contacts. Be careful what you wish for. Flame on, Democrats. I cannot wait for all of this to come out and for the media to all of a sudden get a case of the crickets again when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and being like, why? We just should move on. Let's talk about the midterm. Let's talk about how the Republicans are getting their asses kicked. Jeffrey Epstein who? But don't worry, we'll be here. We'll be here to remind them of issues that they have with Jeffrey Epstein. We'll be right back. Okay, you guys, you know about my friends at New Frontier Creative. You know about Becky and Kevin Blaylock, and they're not only the people I work with that create my content, that have updated my website. Created my website, created my logos, all of it. Can run interference for me if I want them to on social media, like can do everything. Not only are they great creative people and artists and unbelievably talented at what they do, but I also consider them friends. And that is why I so highly recommend New Frontier Creative. If you are looking to upgrade your business cachet, you need to have things that look good. Your logo needs to look fire. You need to have social media, all that good stuff. You need to have great production value on things, and the Blaylocks can help you with all of this. So just go to newfrontiercreative.com. And when you use my name, Angela Box, you're going to get 15% off your whole order. So just bundle everything together. Do it all at once. One fell swoop. Boom. Done. And you're going to be working with patriots that don't hate you and that do impeccable work. Newfrontiercreative.com. Check them out. All right. Just when you thought that the Democrats could not hate you anymore, they always hold all the beers. There have been a few stories that have come out in the last few weeks about these commercial driver's license holders, which got, like, who would have thought that we would learn so much about how truly broken our system is when we come to find out that all these illegal aliens are causing all kinds of havoc on the roads, including killing people, because these people, number one, should not have been in this country, but number two, we're getting issued commercial driver's licenses from Democrat governors like Gavin Newsom, J.D. Pritzker, et al. Well, Trump, the Department of Transportation, was attempting to put a kibosh on allowing illegal aliens to get commercial driver's licenses. But, the judiciary is staffed with a bunch of illegal alien-loving criminals. And so a federal judge just issued a ruling that says that it's going to prevent the DOT's current restrictions on certain immigrants from receiving commercial driver's license. So here's the federal court ruling. Here's what happened. So as always, Trump administration trying to do something the American people voted for and to keep Americans safe and to get rid of illegal aliens, which is what we all voted for. And then a leftist appeals court or judge just says, nah, we're not doing that. So Sean Duffy, so here's what happened. Sean Duffy criticized a federal court Monday that blocked the Trump administration's effort, blah, blah, blah. Sean Duffy said they were not going to take this lying down. We're going to do all we can to protect the American people. So here's what Sean Duffy and the Department of Transportation decided to do in September. Basically a very simple common sense rule. Put a rule in saying illegal aliens cannot obtain a commercial driver's license. Why is that controversial? Well, let's see. The court found that the federal government had not followed proper procedures when implementing the rule and failed to show how it would improve public safety. I'm sorry. Let's look at the last two incidents, the two most major recent incidents. An Indian, dot feather, illegal alien, and I believe an illegal alien from some South American country, caused the death of around 6 people because they were driving when they should not be in the country in the first place, not to mention gaining a commercial driver's license. So let's see what this guy said. Judges also highlighted Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration data indicating that immigrants hold about 5% of all commercial driver's licenses, but account for only, y'all listen to this, but account for only 0.2% of fatal crashes. I'm sorry. Is that supposed to make it all better? The fact that they only account for 5% and 0.2% of fatal injuries? Tell that to the families of the peoples who got killed by these illegal aliens having commercial driver's licenses. Are you serious? This is an outrageous ruling, and obviously the Trump administration is not going to take this one lying down. And here's another one, though. Another left-wing judge Of course, because, why wouldn't it be? This is a Chicago judge, of course. A Biden-appointed federal judge in Chicago has ordered the release of 600 criminal illegal aliens that were rounded up during Operation Midway Blitz. U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings ordered the Trump administration to release more than 600 migrants that the judge claims were arrested in violation of a consent decree. So once again, we're talking about a situation where allegedly illegal aliens have due process rights. No, they do not. Okay? They're in this country illegally. At any time, they should have the understanding that they could get rounded up and deported, okay? Because you broke the law coming here, not our problem if you get arrested and deported. I am so effing sick of this crap, and the American people are so sick of this crap. But here's what we are up against now, ladies and gentlemen. The midterms are upon us, about a year away. And obviously a lot can happen in a year. But we've got some squishy Republicans who are like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be rounding all these people up. Oh, the hell we shouldn't. No, do it more. Because if the Democrats actually win the midterms, which there's this new Marist poll that has Republicans down like an insane amount. It's like, whatever. Marist is not the most accurate of polls, but even Rasmussen is like, Trump, you better like course correct toot sweet or the midterms are adios amigos. And then so goes your agenda. And then we're back to deep state rule whenever Democrats get back into power, and it's just going to be a disaster. But anyway, there's a Marist poll that's saying that Republicans are in trouble. And the way the Republicans don't get into trouble is if they continue to do pedal to the metal. Because now we've got this dumb Epstein stuff behind us. So now let's continue pedal to the metal and show the American people just how obstructionist these leftist judges are. Stopping common sense things that every single person in America should be down for. Deporting criminal illegal aliens, deporting the worst of the worst, deporting people who have overstayed visas and get commercial driver's licenses and then kill a bunch of people. Like, can we all not get on board for this? No. Show the American people in the world just exactly what these leftist judges are up to. Because until we get a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, these judges ain't going no place. One more thing about this illegal alien stuff, which, it really is the gift that keeps on giving. Over in Charlotte, North Carolina, they're doing a pretty big sweep over there. And I guess as protest or whatever, a bunch of school kids in Charlotte, North Carolina decided they were going to stay out. They were just going to not go to school one day. So 15% of the kids didn't go to school one day. And everyone's scratching their heads going, So 15% of the school population in Charlotte, North Carolina is illegal? That's a problem. And then there's something else that is be careful what you wish for, because it's all being exposed. Obviously, the SNAP benefits crap. Everyone's getting their food, and that's all well and good. But guess what? We've come to find out that there's massive amounts of fraud with the SNAP benefits. And obviously, people are on SNAP for 30 years that shouldn't be. And obviously, people who have illegal aliens in their family are getting money, and they should not be getting money from the taxpayers. So guess what's going to be happening, you guys? That's right. All of the people that are on SNAP are going to have to reapply for their benefits and prove that they actually meet the criteria to qualify for SNAP. So you can't be on it for 30 years, pop out a bunch of kids, and then expect the taxpayer to pay for your lifestyle when you refuse to work or you refuse to do anything to better your life. No, that's over. And also illegal aliens, you're not going to get any either. So this is a pretty delicious turn of events, I would say. But, Republicans, you got to get smart, man. You got to get smart, and you better do it fast, because the only person that is keeping you in power right now is Donald J. Trump, okay? Because the American people cannot stand what the Republican Party doesn't do. If you catch my drift, Trump is the only one who is doing what the American people want. You guys are not. So if you want to keep your power, you better get on board and start backing every single thing Trump is doing. Shout it from your whole chest, everything that he's doing, or y'all are toast. Just saying. All right, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, I have told you about Froya Organics for lo these many months. And if you have not seen my skin over lo these many months, you will even have to say, Angela, I know you're a blah years old, but like your skin is glowing, like legit glowing. And even my husband said, your skin is glowing. What are you doing? I said, I'm using Froya. And then he goes, I want some too. So we started both using Froya Organics, and I cannot recommend it more, you guys. I honestly can't. And I have a promo code for you. If you go to their website, FroyaOrganics.com, and put in the code AngelaBoxShow, you're going to get $15 off your first order. And what's great is that you can go on the website and you can see the before and after pictures. And it really is quite dramatic. And honestly, I'm going to use this stuff forever and ever. It is all organic. It is made with the Icelandic woman in mind who has to deal with a very harsh climate. So unbelievably nourishing, age reversing, gorgeous stuff, you guys. Can't recommend them more. FroyaOrganics.com/AngelaBoxShow, $15 off your first order. Do it. Okay, you guys, before we get into the last segment, I was remiss to tell you what we're watching. I just finished Murder in the Family. And if you're not watching that show, you need to watch that show. Like, it is so good. The guy who plays Alec Murdaugh is a guy named Jason Clarke, who's an Australian actor. And I mean, give this guy all the Emmys. Like, it was an incredible job. Overall, 10 out of 10 on the series. Now, I started listening to the companion podcast series about the show. And the show is kind of a meta situation, because there was a podcast that was created. This girl got, a ton of offers to take the podcast and develop it into a show. And so then, she's feeling herself because her podcast is huge. And then, she's feeling herself because she's being played by an actress on the show as the podcast host. Like, it's very meta, right? So they decided to do a companion podcast on this, which I'm not interested at all. And here's why I'm not. Because in the second episode, I was like kind of into it at first. I was like, all right, let's, I like a behind the scenes thing, whatever. In the second episode, I turned it off immediately when this heifer said to the actress playing her, a girl named Brittany Stowe, she was like, just out of the blue, out of her ass, she goes, Brittany, do you feel like, as a woman taking space and fighting the patriarchy, like, do you feel like that's really important to do? And out of the blue, it's like somebody at Hulu, at ABC, at Disney was like, can you say something about the patriarchy and taking up space as a woman? Like, can you do that real quick? It was so out of left field and had nothing to with the conversation at all. So I was like, nope, done. Not listening to that anymore. So I'm sure this lady's feeling herself and she got a lot of money for this and good for her, but you lost me, heifer. You lost me when you started talking about the patriarchy and women taking up space. Anyway, let's get on to some pronoun people news and some furry news, some they, them news, if you will. There's a few things. First of all, there is some news about this Thomas Crooks character. Now, if you don't remember who that is, I don't blame you, because the media has tried to hide what really happened in Butler, Pennsylvania on the day that Trump was almost assassinated, and they want you to think that Thomas Crooks is the kid that did it. I personally do not. However, I do know that the FBI is saying that this is the guy that did it, and he's the only one, and there's not a second shooter or whatever. I don't buy that either. But let's just pretend for a minute that this is all true, okay? And I do think that the reason that all kinds of manner of things are not necessarily coming out is because we don't have the whole story yet. And I'm hoping against hope that there are people being looked at and countries being looked at and organizations being looked at that we just don't know about yet, and that eventually we'll know everything. But we need to also brace ourselves for the fact that we might not, because it might involve other countries that are supposedly our allies. And maybe Trump is going to use some leverage on them in other ways. We don't know. But anyway, here's the point. Earlier this week, Kash Patel and the FBI came out and they said that Thomas Crooks, this little kid that is the person that they are saying shot Trump. And I'm not saying he didn't shoot Trump. I just don't think he was the only one involved, okay? I had interviews with people during that time, especially one girl especially that was like, there was a second shooter and I saw him, and the person that they're showing, the person that they showed his head blown off, like you could still see his face, that person is the person I saw walking around before the shooting. It wasn't Thomas Crooks. But anyway, whatever. So Thomas Crooks evidently, let me get up here. He what was released the other day was that Thomas Crooks was interested in furries and used they, them pronouns online. So, of course he did. You know, it's like, I wish that the trainees would like calm down. I wish that the trainees would realize that the time has passed for them, and that people are getting back to normsies and realizing that, wait a minute, we were in this like fever dream for a few years thinking that you could choose your own gender and you could, you know, change your biological sex. Like, that was crazy. And I mentioned this in another video that we're going to start seeing, I think, unfortunately, a lot more of this violence with transgenders because they were sold such a bill of goods. And now the collective world is waking up out of their stupor and realizing that was real effing stupid. And they're not going to take too kindly to that. And in fact, so many of the recent shootings and incidents in the country have been done by transgenders. I think it's important that, you know, we need to look no further to AOC to tell us what's really important on 11/17/25. So it was the Transgender Day of Visibility, I guess. Oh, excuse me, not the Transgender Day of Visibility. That was Easter Sunday when Joe Biden was in office. He wanted to make sure that Transgender Visibility Day, he was like, I know it's on Easter, but we're going to say it anyway. We're going to stick it in the eye. Anyway, AOC said, this Transgender Awareness Week, we celebrate the resilience, courage, beauty of the trans community. Your lives matter, your stories matter, and your right to thrive and exist authentically is not negotiable. We stand with you today and every day. It's like, what kind of message is that sending the next tranny shooter? That they get to go out and shoot up another school because someone doesn't want to acknowledge their mental illness? Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like to me. So, you know, flame on AOC. And here's another one. Y'all, this is just ridiculous. What's one bit of good news is that the Olympics finally pulled their heads out of their asses. Their collective stupor seems to be finally breaking. The fever is finally breaking. And essentially, they're now going to make sure that there are no trainees playing in the Olympics, which I can't believe that we have to actually say that is a rule that needs to be written down in real life. Like, biological men have vastly greater strength and advantages in sports to women. Why did we have to even say this? But yet here we are. And also they're going to make sure that people like whatever that trainee, not the trainee, she wasn't, the person who has the intersex lady, the Ilman Khalif, the girl who beat the crap, the biological male who has the XY chromosomes, who beat the actual crap out of a female boxer. They're going to make sure that people like that can't compete in the Olympics too. I mean, good. And again, I can't believe that we actually had to have this conversation. So I hope that all the medals that the trainees won in the last Olympics are returned and given to the female athletes that should have won the Olympic medals. But, you know, not to be outdone, we still live in crazy town, and we still have blue cities and blue states that are doubling and tripling down on the crazy. Maura Healey, who is the Massachusetts governor, who is, as she'd like to make sure that you know at any given moment and all the time, she is the first lesbian governor of Massachusetts. She's the first out lesbian governor of Massachusetts. And to which I say, yeah, it's pretty much, I could have told you that. But she decided that she was going to appoint a biological man to the Commission on Women and Girls. Let me get this story, because it is something. Massachusetts Democrat governor appoints male transvestite to Women's Commission. And I love that we're now back to calling these people transvestites, because that's what they are, okay? They're biological men who put on a wig and makeup and a dress. That's a transvestite. That's a cross-dresser. It's not a woman. It's not a biological woman. Governor Maura Healey appointed a transgender identifying male to the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women. And you will see the picture of this person and you'll be like, yeah, that's a dude. That's a dude in a dress and a wig. It reported a person who named himself Giselle Bird, and he is now the vice chair of the agency's Programming and Planning Committee. On the website, it says that it is an independent state agency charged with reviewing the status of women and girls in Massachusetts and offering policy recommendations that would improve access and opportunities and equality for all. And so, of course, this man in a very, very long wig and a full makeup was like, it is an honor. And the man hands, you guys, the man hands. Listen, I've been accused of having man hands. I just have very long fingers, okay? When I was born, my grandma box was like, oh, she's going to be a pianist. No, I can't play any musical instruments. But, you know, this dude has the hands of a man because it's a dude. Anyway, so this person's like all excited that he's appointed to the Commission on Women and Girls, and clown world continues unabated. And I think what we're going to see more and more is Democrats are going to continue to lurch further left. And I guess for the midterms, that's good that they do, because we want the world to see the differences between red and blue states and red and blue cities. It's like, you could have crazy town over here, or you can have normal people doing normal things. Like, and making laws that actually help the people, as opposed to crazy town crap or socialism and communism and all the things. It's going to be a very interesting juxtaposition, and I hope the Republicans are smart enough to realize that Trump is the guy that brought them to the dance, and if they want to stay in power, they better stay with the guy that brought them to the dance. They better not try and back away or to pretend that they don't support what Trump is doing anymore. No. Trump is the only reason you guys are hanging by a thread. So get with it, okay? And continue to pass Trump's agenda. And make sure, if you can't, you make sure to let the world know who is stopping the agenda from being passed. The agenda that the American people voted for. It is recalcitrant Republicans and Democrats. Just saying. All right, that's where we're going to leave today's extra long episode. Please let me know what you think down below. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Please make sure you're watching the For Charlie series that we're doing. We're digging into Candace Owens' level of crazy, and we're breaking all that down too. So make sure to check all that out. And until next time, everybody, keep kicking ass and taking names, and I will be done. Peace.